This tutorial is for a no-sew fleece blanket. You're going to want to start by gathering your supplies. I have here 2 yards of a damask fleece fabric and a solid navy blue fleece fabric, scissors, and a 5x5 inch template I made out of cardstock. Clearing out a clear working space, lay down the solid fabric first, and then go ahead lay down the pattern fabric on top. So what you're going to notice is that there is fray on the edge of the fabric. We're going to take care of this in just a minute, but I wanted to point it out so you can see that that's something we need to trim off. The pattern one usually has like the manufacturer name on it. So you have your blanket laying on the floor, and what we're going to do is cut them both at the exact same time. I like to do this because I feel like it's more efficient. I feel like the fabric is lined up really nicely for afterwards. So that's my method. If you want to cut it separately, you definitely can do that too, and then just lay it down flat afterwards. So I feel like what works best for me is when I hold the fabric really tight and I am pulling as I'm going along to make sure that I have a really nice firm grip. So I'm cutting along the edge, I'm repositioning my hands, and then I'm cutting off that extra fray and fringe off of the material. You're going to need to do this for both sides of the material. So questions about fabric sizing when you go to get it, I would recommend the following. And I actually was talking to a really nice lady at Joann's one year when I was looking to make Christmas presents for my nieces and nephews, and her recommendation to me, which I felt like was spot on, was to use 1.5 yards of fabric for baby blankets. So that's 1.5 yards for baby blankets. You'll need 1.5 yard of a print and 1.5 yard of a solid. This blanket that I'm making right now is for a kid or adult, and that uses 2 yards, and then an oversized blanket would be 2.5 yards. So here I am finishing up cutting the trim. You're going to repeat the process on the other side. You can tell this one is quite large, so we want to make sure we cut all of that off. Whatever your local store is, usually the best time to go is on Black Friday. Use coupons. You know, this fabric runs between $10 and $15 a yard normally, but if you can get it on a really good sale, you can get it as cheap as $1.99 or $2.99 a yard, and then if you can combine coupons, that's even better. This year, this particular blanket cost me $13, but in years past, it's cost me as little as $8. Next step is to use your 5x5 template to cut off a 5x5 inch square off of each corner. So I have this pre-cut template, and I'm going to go ahead and just cut a square out of the corner. If you're making multiple blankets, it's kind of nice to have handy. You'll repeat that process for all 4 sides, and this is what your blanket should look like up until this point. So far, so good. Alright, so next we're going to cut our strips, 1-inch strips. I like to use my thumb as a measuring tool. You don't have to be precise, but you know, the thumb works pretty good, and as you can see, that's about a 1-inch strip. And then what you're going to do is you're going to continue this process along the entire length of the blanket. So this is a 1-inch strip that is 5 inches long, and if you can tell, it's going to square up about to the corner where I had made that 5x5 square cut off the corner of the blanket, if that made any sense. So I'm going to cut my strips, and if you're more concerned about it being exactly right, go ahead and grab out a ruler. You can line it up against the top, and as you can see here, I lined it up pretty good. It's not perfect, but it's pretty close. And if you're concerned about that though, if it's your first blanket or if you like things to be precise and exact, go ahead and use a ruler to line up with, and then you can measure out each of those things. I find personally that these blankets are extremely forgiving, so you can make mistakes and you will hardly even notice once the blanket's done. So try not to stress out about it. This is a really, really cool, fun project to do. It's easy, and people just love these blankets. My nieces, my nephews love them, my parents love them, my kids love them, I love them. I'm making this one for myself actually because I don't have one. And they're a lot of fun, so don't worry about being perfect. So you're cutting these strips along the entire length of the blanket. This is what it looks like on one completed side, 1-inch by 5-inch strips, and we are getting ready to knot. So what we're going to do is tie double knots along the edge. You're going to take one piece of pattern, one piece of solid, and you're going to tie 1 knot, and then you are going to tie a 2nd knot. That's why it's a double knot, right? And that's what it would look like. So we'll continue this process along the entire length of the blanket. The cool thing about the double knot is that's why it's no-sew blanket, because the knots are what's holding the two pieces of fabric together. And these blankets are actually quite sturdy. In addition to being just warm and cozy, they will withstand a wash. I've made them for my 3 kids. We've had them for a year now. We've laundered them I don't know how many times, and they just get fluffier every time, and they definitely stick together. So you don't have to worry about the knots coming out. Don't worry about being perfect. Some knots are gonna go sideways, some are gonna be straight. It doesn't matter, it's gonna look great. So this is what one completed side will look like. And this is what 2 completed sides are going to look like. You're going to repeat that process of cutting 1-inch strips along the trim and then tying it up with your double knots until you're fully complete with your no-sew fleece blanket. These fleece blankets make great gifts for birthdays, baby showers, Christmas. Here's a few examples of blankets that we've made in the past. And check out your local craft store for what they have in stock, and don't be afraid to look online too. Make sure you wait for sales, use your coupons, and I wish you the best of luck.